first time. On Call stands behind the community it serves and would like to assure you that they're taking the necessary precautions to keep you and their technicians safe. When problems arise, pick up the phone and call On Call at 803-781-HELP.
Pros. Lowe's wants to help you keep working. That's why we're open for pro business hours 6 to 7 a.m. Monday through Saturday. You'll find the quantities you expect with dedicated pro associates and loaders to help you get what you need fast and load you up curbside. Now, more than ever, we know you need to win every single bid. You can count on Lowe's for special values on pro-trusted brands and savings when you buy in bulk. Save yourself a trip by shopping Lowe'sForPros.com, where we can ship thousands of items to your doorstep or to the job site. Lowe's is open and pro-ready.
Unit 121 responding to possible carbon monoxide poisoning.
Carbon monoxide is an odorless, colorless, tasteless gas that kills more than 500 Americans every year. Never use generators, grills, camp stoves, or other gasoline or charcoal burning devices inside your home, basement, or garage, or near a window. If it's cold, stay with friends or family or in a shelter. To learn more, call 1-800-CDC-INFO.
Fox Sports Radio 1400, WCOS Columbia, an iHeart radio station.
It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Ready, set! Just call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
Finally, Clemson Sports Talk has come back to Drive Time. Hello, everybody. Lawton Swan back in the saddle. Once again, it is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk for you each and every afternoon as you make your way around the great state of South Carolina and beyond, hanging out with us in the Midlands on Fox Sports Radio 1400 and the PD on Sports Radio 100.1, The Fan, and in the Low Country on 920 AM in Manning. It is the show that shakes the Southland. Your website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. If you hate typing, ClemsonRadio.com will get you there as well. $63.17, just 18 cents a day to become a premium subscriber and help support us over on our website. And again, that dollar is $63.17. So I hope for any Gamecock fans that doesn't give you the shakes. And if you're a Clemson Tiger fan, I'm sure you recollect back to 2003 when Clemson waltzed into Williams-Brice Stadium and came out with a huge victory over the South Carolina Gamecocks by a score of, say it with me now, 63-17. 803-450-0086. That's your text line. If you want to be a part of the program, you can text us 803-450-0086. Yesterday, lots of conversations about Zion Williamson and Clemson University. Obviously, the situation surrounding him not going away. And one of the things that, I hearken back to on that conversation was the fact that we mentioned how excited it sounded Brad Brownell was about the prospects of Zion ending up at Clemson. And I mentioned the fact that we were on an interview with William Qualkenbush, and Coach Brownell walks by at Little John Coliseum and says something to the effect of, man, going to be a big day tomorrow. And if you kind of read the tea leaves on that and then look and dig a little bit deeper, you realize that there are circumstances out there, and I don't think the coaching staff at Clemson would ever come out and say this, but there are people out there who believe that the part of the reason Clemson was so confident about Zion Williamson was that Williamson had committed to Clemson. He had told them, I'm committing to you, prior to the late switch over to Duke. Again, according to reports, at least according to the court documents and what they want Zion Williamson to admit, is that his mother and his stepfather both were involved and took money to have him essentially commit to Duke. And you can go and listen to yesterday's show. We dive into detail on that a little bit more. But isn't it do you find it, I guess I would say to you at this point, difficult to be overly frustrated by Clemson basketball if, and again, this is all speculative, not proven, but if that's what Coach Brad Brownell's dealing with, it's not a level playing field. And I know that yesterday we made the correlation to Clemson football and how easy it is for them to recruit. And listen, in fairness, you wouldn't bat an eye. You wouldn't blink if there's a kid, let's say there's a 5-star kid that's committed to Wake Forest to play college football, and Clemson swoops in at the final minutes and makes this kid an offer and says, hey, you come to Tiger Town, you can play. We got a spot for you to play defensive back at Clemson. You're a 5-star kid. We want you. You wouldn't bat an eye. You wouldn't blink, and you wouldn't complain if Clemson ended up getting that kid to commit in the final stages of his recruitment. Why? Because you would say to me, well, Swanee, Clemson's a proven a proven football power, and they get the players that they want most of the time. And so if all things were equal, and if there wasn't this alleged payments and directives from Nike and or Adidas to funnel Zion Williamson to Duke, then I think you would say that's just what it is, Swanee. And that's really the way it should be, right? Like, Duke should beat you out for the best players in the country because they're Duke. That's like Pete Gillen said back in the day when he was at Virginia. I used to love this take when it would come through on the Jim Rome show. Suddenly Duke is Duke. They're on TV more than Leave It to Beaver reruns. And so from that standpoint, certainly Duke is Duke. And Duke should beat Clemson out for the best players in the country. But where it becomes so muddled, so frustrating, and so amplified in the disdain for what's going on in the world of college basketball is when you have a kid who is a backyard prospect, 100 miles, an hour or so away from Clemson in Spartanburg, that ends up going to Duke and playing there, and not necessarily under the cover of night per se, but that's the way it feels. Like it feels like this was a dirty deed, and I think that people get frustrated by it. And I think that it's fair to be critical of Clemson football in a circumstance where if you had things of this nature coming out about the football team, then I would tell you immediately, Wake Forest and everybody else, you got every right to be angry if Clemson football were implicated the way now that Duke and Kansas and other basketball powers have been implicated in hoops. The Tigers haven't been on the gridiron, and certainly given the aspects and the type of players that Clemson's bringing in, the culture that Clemson's built, and now the footprint that they have, I think that the majority of people would be absolutely shocked and bothered, and I don't blame you, again, if you found out something like this was going on with the football team. But when it comes down to basketball, we know so much more about the dirt that goes along with it. It's also, I think, too, and one of the reasons that you see so much more of this at the basketball level is because of how impactful one player is by comparison to, say, the numbers that you have going on the field during a football game. You got 22 starters. You got the kicker, the punter, the snappers. I mean, you got all of that in addition to a roster that exceeds 100 people when you're at home games. And then you look at basketball, you got 5 starters, and one major player, one huge prospect can change the outlook for the entire team. A Trevor Lawrence is great when surrounded by great talent. A Deshaun Watson is marvelous when surrounded by great talent. You don't bring a guy like that into a mediocre program and have him immediately change things in the blink of an eye. They'll make you better. They might win you a game or two, but they don't make you NCAA tournament, Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4 good. In basketball, you can do that. In basketball, you can land a guy like Zion Williamson, and you can get into the Final Four. You can land a guy like Carmelo Anthony and win a national title as he being a freshman. You can find players, and Butler may be the prime example of maybe finding a couple of guys that play together as a team, and you have great coaching, and you can get into the Final Four in the NCAA championship game. You can make magical runs in college basketball, and really, if you're a school like Clemson, you can make a magical run like that with one player. Thus, because that player is so much more valuable, there is, I believe, more dirt in that game. One guy makes such a huge difference. One player can change the complexion of an entire program. And that's the thing that I think is most impactful about what you hear right now from the standpoint of, people believing that Zion Williamson was committed to Clemson, was going to commit to Clemson, and had told the coaching staff that he was committed. I mean, people believe that that is the case. Now, I don't know that's the case, but I can tell you we had the article written for Zion Williamson to commit to Clemson. It was our understanding, and it seemed like reading the tea leaves, that that's where Zion was going to end up, in Tiger Town, playing for Clemson and being the single greatest recruit and the biggest recruit to ever land at Clemson. He would have created the biggest NBA profile of any player in Clemson history. You could make the argument if you wanted to, and I know he wasn't completely through his entire rookie season. I know that there's still a lot of basketball left to be played in his career, but you could argue that in terms of social media, in terms of media coverage, hype, expectation, he would have already been, on May the 12th, 2020, the largest profiled former Clemson Tiger basketball player in the NBA history. That includes Larry Nance. That includes Dale Davis. That includes Eldon Campbell. That includes Trevor Booker. That includes, a guy like Greg Buckner, Chris Whitney. I'll be honest with you, because of his profile on social media, and because of the day and age we live in, this young man at this point through a rookie year would be the greatest, including Horace Grant, would be the greatest known former Clemson basketball player in the history of the program. Already is what he would be. And so from that standpoint, for Clemson to win out on a guy like that would have been huge for the future of the program, because of the hype you can build around a player like Zion Williamson. And Clemson's had other misses. You know this. They're well documented. And a lot of these are guys that are in state that you believe that Clemson and or South Carolina should be able to keep at home. They haven't been able to keep those guys at home. But the utter frustration, looking back and continuing to think back to the Zion Williamson recruitment, the potential that he, the thought process that he had committed to Clemson, and that the coaching staff believed that he was going to sign, as they say in the wrestling business, on the dotted line to be a Clemson Tiger, but then a big switcheroo to the Duke Blue Devils, shocking everybody, is something that just, it again becomes so incredibly frustrating for every Clemson Tiger fan out there. Send us your thoughts on that topic. 803-450-0086. 803-450-0086. That is the text line. You never text while you're driving when you're listening to this show. You know the rules. We don't crank the car without the seatbelts buckled, and you don't drive while texting here on the program. 803-450-0086. Now, we added a new feature to the show through that number, and that's the ability for you to participate. So if you call that number right now, if you call us, 803-450-0086, leave us a message, and we'll play it back on the program a little bit later. So if you want to weigh in on this, if you think, Swanee, you're off your gourd, you're off your rocker, you don't know what you're talking about when it comes down to Zion Williamson, go ahead, hit us up. We want to hear from you. We're happy to hear from you. I don't care if you're listening to us in the Midlands, in the Low Country, in the PD. If you want to be a part of the program, you call us. If we can't work you in today, we'll work you in down the road. We're making this show available to everybody. You know what? From henceforth, we may go with that. We may do the show like this, because I know we got a lot of listeners in Florence and Manning that would like their voices to be heard. And maybe you call that number that we used to give out all the time when we were back in the studio, and you couldn't get through because the show that shakes the Southland had already shaken it. We were already off the air. But you know what? You call that number and leave us a message. We will pipe you in, because we want to hear from you. You're valuable to this program. You're a huge part of this show. We want to give you the stage. We want to give you the microphone. We want to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts on topics like this. So again, 803-450-0086. 803-450-0086 is the way that you can be a part of the program and hang out with us. And again, your website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Now, if you didn't notice, it is bitterly frustrating. I am bitterly frustrated by the fact that these are the things that we have to worry about and talk about and focus on as to why Clemson basketball hasn't reached a level of success that guys like me that were North Florida for life. You heard interviews with Tom Weidman. You've heard interviews with Terrell McIntyre. Guys like me, John Cicetta, telling you, Swanee, your stories would be amazing. When you were North Florida, you were North Florida for life. And that doesn't mean until your college career comes to an end, whether that be 4 years like most people, whether that be 14 semesters like me. But you don't back down from your beliefs. And my beliefs have always been, when it comes down to Clemson Tiger basketball, that Tiger fans, Tiger students, Tiger players, and the coaching staff deserve better. But man alive, when you dig in and think about what maybe could have been, and when you think about how things may have gone down, and you think about how long things like this may have gone down, it just makes it oh so difficult. Now, in fairness, I do want to say, and William Qualkenbush brought this up the other day, and I don't know that this necessarily needs to be a referendum on Leonard Hamilton and Florida State, because I will admit that the model I believe in is one of consistency in your coaching staff. You can't just change out for a new guy every time you feel like things are going bad. And so even though it's been a decade, even though Clemson hasn't had some great level of success in basketball under Brad Brownell, I do buy into the belief that continuity helps. I think that is an important factor. I think that there is a brilliance and a beauty to bringing in a fresh coaching staff, a young coaching staff, an up-and-coming coaching staff, maybe even a named coaching staff. I don't think that it would have hurt at any point along the way if Clemson ended up with a guy like Shaka Smart. I think from that standpoint, the one thing we know, looking back at Rick Barnes, is that youth, excitement, passion, all those things help. But I do believe continuity is also a big deal. So from that standpoint, where Clemson sits right now with Brad Brownell, you've still got to begin to see this group deliver. But if you think about Leonard Hamilton, who's had that same continuity, who's had those things, but a guy like Steve Smith, who Clemson cuts ties with, Leonard Hamilton now has on his staff. And I don't know if that begs any concern or question or raises red flags for you about how Florida State's gone out and recruited great players and had guys like the Isaac kid a couple of years ago, the type player you've never seen come through Clemson, like a 6'8" kid that can handle the basketball, can do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little inside, a little outside, defensively, attacking the rim, all of those things. You haven't seen that really in Clemson ever. And when you think about Leonard Hamilton and the players that they've had come through that program, obviously continuity and sticking with your coaching staff is key, but getting talented players in the door is huge as well. And I don't know how Florida State's done it. I don't know if it's been a by hook or by crook method for the Florida State Seminoles, but they are or at least were a football power that now has turned themselves into a desirable location for college basketball. How does Clemson achieve that goal? I don't know. But I can tell you that they are, I think, the model you're looking towards. Because when you think about this league, yeah, you've absolutely got the North Carolinas, you've got the Dukes, you've got the Virginias of the world, you've got the Syracuse, these typical basketball blue blood programs that really play well. And again, maybe you don't count Virginia in that mix, but they've been a lot better than Clemson through the years. Georgia Tech's been a lot better than Clemson through the years. There are programs that have achieved greater success than Clemson in the Atlantic Coast Conference, including Wake Forest, including NC State. I mean, on and on and on. I don't know that. I mean, I'd have to look at everybody's records, but I'd venture to guess that Clemson's probably got about the least amount of basketball success of virtually everybody in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Maybe Boston College, maybe Miami, but I'd have to dig deeper into some archives I just don't know about. But man, it is tough when you're recruiting against the great programs like Duke and others, and then you hear the stories that surround the recruitment of a guy like Zion Williamson. How you become a Florida State, I don't know. But I can tell you this, when you're North Florida for life, you don't let these things just slide by because, it's downtime. You dive in, you push the envelope. I want to see Clemson better, that's for sure. But I don't want them to cheat to get there. 803-450-0086. We hit a break. We come back with more. The show that shakes the Southland.
Fox Sports Radio 1400 wants to help with a chance at $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword couch to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info, standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's couch to 200-200.
Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed.
Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
A wreck I-77 northbound this afternoon, just past the Blythewood Road exit. We also have an accident on Brickyard at Majestic. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line number is 343-1055.
This report is brought to you by Positive Coaching Alliance. Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
When you get in your car, you need the best directions to get where you want to be.
Will arrive at your retirement in 8 years.
The same is true for your retirement. You need a voice to guide you along the way. Join Pat Strube for Save Your Retirement with Pat Strube. Pat's 18 years of experience can help make your retirement journey feel like a drive down easy street.
Arriving at your retirement.
Saturdays, 6 a.m. on Fox Sports Radio, and Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 9 on 560 WVOC for Save Your Retirement with Pat Strube.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Attention all women who have been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Johnson & Johnson's baby powder and shower-to-shower talcum products have been linked to ovarian cancer. In February and May 2016, Johnson & Johnson was ordered to pay $72 million and $55 million by two juries to two women who contracted ovarian cancer after years of using talcum baby powder products. If you or a family member has been diagnosed with ovarian cancer and used talcum powder prior to the diagnosis, call Talcum Powder Help Now today at 800-833-0112. You may be entitled to substantial compensation. The consultation is free and you'll pay nothing unless there is a recovery in your favor. Don't fight this alone. If you or a loved one used talcum baby powder-based products before being diagnosed or died from ovarian cancer, call Talcum Powder Help Now at 800-833-0112. 800-833-0112. 800-833-0112.
Paid for by Bar Justice.
Tiger fans, look no further than the Tiger Sports Shop in Clemson for all your game day needs. Since 1974, they've brought you everything Clemson for the Clemson fan. With quality brands such as Nike, Antigua, Cutter and Buck, and Champion, plus many more. From hats to t-shirts to tailgate, the Tiger Sports Shop has all the Clemson gear a true Tiger fan needs. With two convenient game day locations in Tigertown, shop where I shop at Dr. I.M. Ibrahim's Tiger Sports Shop. They fuel the passion of Tiger fans everywhere. Check them out online, tigersports.com.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
Now, back to Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for the 2018 National Championship Tigers, Fox Sports Radio 1400.
It is the show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan hanging out with you here on a, what, is it a Wednesday already or a Tuesday? I can't even keep up. It's a Tuesday. These weeks now, they're all running together. I'm not retired, but it can feel like you're retired with as little as I'm going out of the house, one, and as you know, you just don't have the little things that kind of keep you in line with what day of the week it is. Like, you know, during the college football season, it's clear what day Saturday is. There's a football game. You know Sunday's the NFL. So, you know, keeping your weeks in order is not too bad. But right now, man, as little as I'm leaving the house and as little as I'm going anywhere, you don't have work, you don't really have the weekends, I'm starting to feel like I'm retired. Even though I'm doing a show, even though I'm still working, keeping up with the days has become maybe the most difficult thing for me. 803-450-0086. That's your number. Come hang out with us over on ClemsonSportsTalk.com. If that's too difficult, ClemsonRadio.com will get you there. Now, if you are a premium subscriber, boy, do we got something coming for you tomorrow morning. We sat down with Bubba Chandler. Now, you may not know Bubba Chandler, but you will know him probably soon enough. Bubba Chandler is the young man out of the state of Georgia who is committed to play baseball for the Georgia Bulldogs, who yesterday evening, actually decommitted from the Georgia baseball program. He's got an offer. His biggest offer in football is from the Clemson Tigers. He is a 0-star recruit in football. He would be able to play both sports at Clemson if he chooses to do so. But Bubba Chandler up at North Oconee High School in Georgia has decommitted from the Bulldogs, and we sat down with him for an extensive interview. What a great kid. I'm going to tell you, you're going to love this. Again, $63.17 to become a premium subscriber to ClemsonSportsTalk.com. That interview will be on our page tomorrow morning. And this is a kid who is fired up about the opportunity. He's excited. He's athletic. He even, you know, when you watch some videos of him, in speaking with him, he mentioned whether he's on the field or on the court, but he's really known mostly for baseball and football. And I asked him, I said, hey, what kind of basketball player are you? I heard you say court. He said, oh man, I got some videos up over on my Twitter account. And dude's got some leaps. He's about 6'4", 200 pounds. Not a young man that a lot of people know, but Coach Streeter and Dabo Swinney obviously evaluated his tape and felt like he was worth bringing into the program, felt like he was worth an offer, and we'll see what he ends up trying to, we'll see what his ultimate decision is. I'm not telling you this kid's coming to Clemson. I think one of the things that I'll be interested to kind of see develop, and I don't believe as of this point he's gotten an offer to play football at Georgia. But when you're already committed to the Bulldogs to play baseball, again, baseball scholarship limits are a big deal here. They're a huge deal because if you get an offer to play college football, it's all paid for. It's all you're covered, right? So from that standpoint, it is a lot different to get a football offer than a baseball offer. You can play both, but that football scholarship would cover everything. That baseball scholarship, you'd be lucky if it covers your books. Even if you're a great player, you'd be lucky if it's a half scholarship. And so from that standpoint, you have to wonder, not is there pressure at Georgia to add Bubba Chandler to your committable offers to the football program, But you do wonder if that has to become a part of the conversation, at least. And then when you think about the Georgia Bulldogs, something that kind of got me thinking about the SEC a little bit over the weekend. I read an article that was on one of our sister sites, dogpost.com, and the F5 network. And one of the things that really stood out to me is the belief that Jamie Newman, who is projected to be the starting quarterback, former Wake Forest quarterback, Jamie Newman, a big kid, athletic kid, just kind of reminds you of maybe a bigger version of Taj Boyd. I don't have the two measurables in front of me, but let's see Jamie Newman's height and weight by comparison to Taj Boyd, because he's an athletic kid. There's no 6'4", 229. Taj Boyd was not 6'4", but probably weighed in at about the same, 6'1". Taj Boyd, 222. So, yeah, this kid's a little taller, weighs about the same as Taj Boyd, very athletic, and again, transferred from Wake Forest, will be able to play this season. But here's the thing. There is belief, and we talked yesterday about Tua's brother leaving Alabama, transferring out of Alabama. There's belief, according to Pro Football Focus, according to Mark Richt, that Jamie Newman is the best quarterback in the SEC. Think about that. The best quarterback in the SEC. Now, understand this. This is not a kid in Bubba Chandler who could impact and influence Georgia football this year, right? But if you're telling me that Jamie Newman, no offense to Jamie Newman, is the best quarterback in the SEC, and Bubba gets an offer, if Bubba Chandler gets an offer to go to Georgia and play football, and I don't know if he will or he won't. I don't think he has yet. I'll double check during the break. How if you're that kid, do you not take that offer instead? You've already committed to play baseball there previously. If you pick up an offer from Georgia, and I'd have to check their depth chart even further. But for crying out loud, you come to Clemson. You're behind DJ Uiagalelei. You're behind Tyson Pumachan. You're behind Trevor Lawrence. Well, Lawrence will be gone at that point. But you see what I'm saying? There is a much bigger logjam at Clemson at the quarterback spot than at Georgia. And I don't even know if this kid's ultimate goal is to end up playing a lot collegiately. I know he loves offensive football. I know he loves the mindset that goes along with it. Could see himself being an offensive coordinator potentially at some point. But is that an easier stop if Kirby Smart and the Bulldog football program end up offering this kid? It's at least food for fodder, but a great interview. We'll have it up tomorrow on ClemsonSportsTalk.com. When we come back, I'll tell you why I have major concerns about the college football season. The more I thought about this, I'm concerned.
Hello, this is Keith Gramad with Chapin Furniture. With 4 kids, 2 dogs, a cat, and 10 baby chickens, the last couple of months at the Gramad house has been pretty interesting. Wouldn't you agree, Jen?
The words stir crazy bring new meaning to life, and I'm sure many of you can relate, but honestly, we feel blessed to have a family that gets along and enjoys each other's company.
If all this time at home has you reevaluating the comfort of your inside living space, we have some great news for you. Chapin Furniture is open for business and just in time for our huge Memorial Day sale.
Save on everything in the store. Serta, Beauty Rest, and Tempur-Pedic mattresses at great prices, handmade furniture from the American Craftsman at Bassett, and a great selection of rugs and home decor, all on sale right now.
Chapin Furniture's Memorial Day sale through Monday, May 25th. Chat with a designer online at chapinfurniture.com or come to Exit 91 in Chapin and look for the big red chair.
Hey, it's Jonathan Rush from Montgomery Construction. Matt Montgomery will be the first to tell you. They don't want to just be good or okay. They want to be the best. That means the best product, the best experience, the best customer service. And for small business owners or managers of large corporations, they strive to make the construction process an enjoyable experience. And of course, they know you want the best price with the best results. That's why the best thing you can do is call Matt Montgomery, 490-2243. Montgomery Construction, building a better experience.
Live from the $1,500 instant rebate AAA Heating and Air Weather Center.
Tonight, the skies stay clear and the lows dip down to around 50. Tomorrow, plenty of sunshine and warmer, highs upper 70s. For Channel 25 ABC Columbia, I'm Chief Meteorologist John Farley.
This report is sponsored by the T.J. Martell Foundation. Join the T.J. Martell Foundation in the fight against leukemia, cancer, and AIDS. Your support helps facilitate cutting-edge research that will lead to more effective treatments and save more lives. Visit tjmartell.org to learn about music's promise for a cure.
Uncle Dan? Mom? Dad? If you store your guns properly, so not just anyone can get to them,
I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside. Safer when walking home.
Safer when my friends come over. As your neighbor, I'll feel safer.
As a school teacher, I'll feel safer.
we'll all feel safer.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Sensory sensitivity, repetitious behavior, lack of eye contact. You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
You know you don't need to wash your hands to listen to us. Just tell Alexa to play Fox Sports Radio 1400 on the iHeart Radio app.
Back at it, the show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan hanging out with you on Twitter at Clemson Sports. Do you follow us? Why not? Join the 23,000 people that already do. Share our stuff. Tell your friends. Let's continue to grow. And you know what? Over on Facebook, I think we only have about 7,000 people. I don't understand it. How come we don't have 17,000? How come we don't have 70,000? Let's get over there. If you don't follow us on Facebook, go ahead and follow us as well. Clemson Sports Talk. We need you to help us continue to grow and share our work. Again, the website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com, ClemsonRadio.com will get you there as well. Okay, so yesterday I kind of laid out my long-term plan of how I think college football could be played and how I think it's not as difficult as many people believe to back the schedule up. And I'll give you that briefly here if you missed it, but you can catch the podcast edition of the show if not. But first and foremost, again, I think the simplest way to do this is to merely move games back. And what I mean by that is if out of the gate you don't get a chance to play Georgia Tech on September 3rd, well, then you would just play that game after the South Carolina game. The teams, the places, the venues, etc., they don't need to change in order for that game to get pulled off in that manner, and there's no reason to completely revamp your entire schedule. It's simple. If you miss two games, Georgia Tech and Louisville, those would come at the back end of the season in early December after the South Carolina game. Boom. Other than that, other games don't have to change. hey, October the 10th at Florida State still would be October the 10th at Florida State. So you minimize the number of games you have to change. You don't have to change venues, etc., things of that nature. You don't have necessarily scheduling conflicts that you're trying to overcome or things of that nature. It just minimizes the number of games you have to change. It makes perfect sense. Now, what I do know is a lot of times when you put a lot of people in the room, perfect sense goes out the window. And they come up with all kind of convoluted ideas that just aren't going to work. That can be frustrating. I get it, 100%. That can be amazingly frustrating. So I hope that my conceptual design for how to get you to the season works. But here's the thing, and I know that the next 2 or 3 weeks, because I started at like 6 to 8 weeks, but I believe now that things are opening back up, the next 2 to 3 weeks are critical. Like, we cannot see the coronavirus issue spike in our country and in our cities and areas that are opening up. That would be just traumatic to the hopes of a college football season. Because if we open up and we see a huge spike, a couple of things are going to happen. One, the concerns about what happens if you do go out are going to be raised up through the roof. Two, we're going to have to probably shut down again, and that's going to cause economic hardships that will become essentially unbearable. That's going to cause a major concern about the timeline of some sort of vaccine, the timeline of some sort of treatments that work, and all of that, right? But then furthermore, this is where it scares me the most. Even if we have a world where I know Mark Emmert has been talking about how this could look, and there have been universities that have said if we don't have kids on campus, we might have student athletes on campus, but we'll still play football. All that's all well and good. You can take every precaution in the world, right? You can have 6-foot perimeters. You can have people spread out, this, that, and the other. But here's the thing. As much as you want to try to mitigate and slow down this virus, this is where I have major concerns about the college football season. It only takes, and we know this, it only takes one case in your facility, in an area, and then it can run rampant through your program, even with social distancing. And so I think, honestly, the circumstances going on at the White House right now, where there have been a couple of people around President Trump who have tested positive for COVID-19. I think this is an incredible small scientific experiment on how quickly this thing spreads, because if we get true numbers out from the White House on this, we're going to know, okay, if you have a small group of people and they're isolated from most people in the world and they're just doing their job, and this would be very similar, I would say, to a football program outside of the age, right? The age concerns that I think people have with older populations and people with underlying health issues. But it is going to give us an idea of, okay, if 2 football players had the coronavirus, how quickly does it spread to everybody else? And so from that standpoint, because I don't know that a nursing home is a great example because of the number of people in the nursing home who are more susceptible, who have underlying health issues, who probably have compromised, immune systems, etc. But if this thing gets into your locker room in the fall, I think it could shut your season down. Like, I think you could say, we're starting the season, Swanee. We're going to start a little late. We're going to get rocking and rolling. Problem here is if kids start to get sick, right? Because then you become an infected ball club. You become a ball club there people aren't necessarily going to want to play against. So I think a large concern could not only be the coronavirus ahead of the college football season, but if we do have it, the coronavirus putting a halt to the college football season and maybe a halt to games or maybe to your team's schedule. That's something I think you really have to consider. And I don't know that I thought about that aspect of it, and maybe this was naive of me, until yesterday evening after the show. And I started thinking about the conversations I had about how you would move the schedule. Well, let's further that by saying, hey, you know what? There's a legitimate chance that you could start the college football season. You might only have 15,000 people in the stands. You might have nobody in the stands. But you get a case of COVID-19 in your facility and you get 2, 3, 5, 6, 20 people sick, you're going to have to shut down your season. I don't know what happens to the rest of college football. I would assume they keep going. But the thing that you could see this season is a circumstance where maybe if you're lucky to have the college football season, you could be going along, minding your own business, rooting for your team, and COVID-19 hits your locker room, and they could shut it down. That's a scary thought. That's a frustrating thought. But I think that has to be a real thought in the back of your minds right now. Head over to the website Clemson Sports Talk for more coverage of your Tigers. We had a quick break. We come back with more of the show that shakes the Southland.
Lawton Swan here, and I know in sports we're always talking about the big guy. Well, let me tell you, when you're buying a car, you don't need that. What you need to do is head down to Orangeburg to my good friends at Ferry Chevrolet Cadillac. 4 generations of family-owned business right there at Ferry Chevrolet. No dock fees, no tricks, straightforward pricing in a low-pressure environment you'll love. Check them out online, ferrychevrolet.com, or call them 803-536-1600. It's Ferry Chevrolet Cadillac, just a short 30-minute drive off of exit 145A in Orangeburg.
If there's one thing that the class of 2020 has learned, it's to expect the unexpected. So to help them on their journey, iHeartRadio is launching Commencement, a new podcast featuring speeches from the biggest names. Commencement is in partnership with the 2020 Census, which gives you the opportunity to help shape the future of our country for the next 10 years. Complete the census at 2020census.gov. Then listen to iHeartRadio's new podcast, Commencement. Speeches drop May 15th on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. Graduating is a huge step for the class of 2020, and while it may look a little different this year, it doesn't take away from everything you've accomplished. That's why iHeartRadio and State Farm teamed up for Commencement, a podcast to give you some neighborly wisdom from the biggest names in music, entertainment, and more to help you today and in the future. The Commencement podcast is brought to you by State Farm. Listen to iHeartRadio's new podcast, Commencement. Speeches drop May 15th on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Let me tell you who I trust to protect my home and my family. Modern Exterminating. Hey, it's Lawton Swan, and when you need top quality service from a team that knows what bugs you, call Modern Exterminating. 765-2315. They're locally owned and offer a full complement of pest elimination services, including complete pest control, termite plans, moisture control, and more. Check out Modern Exterminating online at pestfreesc.com or give them a call today. 765-2315. Modern Exterminating. They know what bugs you.
Don't wait. Now is the perfect time to make sure your AC unit is working properly. Call the pros at On Call. On Call has trained technicians, not trained salespeople, to make sure your unit is ready for the South Carolina heat. Call today and schedule an On Call spring tune-up special for just $75. Call On Call Plumbing, Heating, and Air 24/7 at 803-781-HELP. That's 781-HELP.
On Call Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Pick up the phone and we'll be right there. Call 781-HELP.
Hey, class of 2020. We know things have been kind of out of the ordinary lately. You're not going to get a graduation ceremony. So iHeartRadio found some people to write commencement speeches just for you. John Legend, he's in. Hillary Clinton, she's in too. Over 20 of your favorites, from DJ Khaled to Coach K, Abby Wambach to Halsey. Listen to iHeartRadio's new podcast, Commencement. Speeches drop May 15th on the iHeartRadio app and Sunday, May 17th across all iHeartRadio stations. Brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest 5G network.
Imagine if I told you that an earthquake was going to hit tomorrow right where you live. That it would be 6.5 in magnitude with aftershocks occurring twice 25 minutes apart. You'd no doubt talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you an earthquake will happen tomorrow. But what if it does? Shouldn't you have a plan? Visit scemd.org and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by the South Carolina Emergency Management Division, FEMA, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You're bringing your daughter to her favorite pop star's concert. Do you A, wear earplugs?
Isn't this fun, Dad?
I'll have a soft pretzel.
B, remember the moment with matching concert t-shirts?
That's gonna be $180. Or we can just take a photo.
C, show her how you used to do concerts.
We're going crowd surfing.
I can't. It's too heavy. Oh my God.
Or D, just roll with it.
Woo!
OMG! He just looked. I love you, Justin. I love you.
When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers. But that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Fox Sports Radio 1400 wants to help with your bills. Listen to win $1,000 every day from 6 a.m. through 9 p.m.
It is the People's Show, Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan with you again. A lot to get into here. Coming up in hour 2, Mike Yuva going to be a part of the program. We'll get him on the line. Of course, you can participate by giving us a phone call, 803-450-0086, and leave a message, and we'll get to you. I saw several people chatting over on Facebook as well. And if you're watching the show on Facebook, make sure you're actually viewing the show when you chat, not just dropping a little note in the post, because I think a lot of people do that. Those don't come to me when they're shared on pages. So we'll see if we can find a better solution to that. But David writes us that says, hey, Swanee, check out Amir Sims' tweet. Apparently the team thought Zion was coming too. And I did. I looked at that tweet just a little bit ago. And, you know, Amir Sims tweeted, he said, this was Matt Conley from the state newspaper, tweeted Brad Brownell's quote that we mentioned to you on the program yesterday. Amir Sims says, my coach, the realest out there, and it's time everybody sees why. Little like shrug emoji and 100%. So that came out from Amir Sims, essentially backing what we kind of dove into just a few minutes ago here on the program on the Zion Williamson front. Also see my good buddy Todd checking out the program up in Chapin today. Todd, my man, what's going on? Actually had a Chapin High School football player reach out to me on social media the other day and was like, man, can you do anything to help me out? And I said, buddy, I'll be following you. And if we can, retweet your stuff, we will. So hope those Chapin Eagles get to have a little football season this year, as I know everybody's looking forward to hopefully that opportunity out there. Now, I told you guys you can call the program, and not many people have taken advantage of that. It's been a shift, and I know if you're watching, the phone number down here is not right. I'll tell you what I'm not going to do at this point. Not going to redo my graphics to make sure that you get the right number, because the other number, the text line, is the one you can now call. So we try to make that a little bit easier for you and give you a way to participate now that we're at home. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of like doing the show from home. I don't be shocked if I ask the folks at iHeart, hey, if and when I'd like to do the show from home, may I? Just simply because it is a good bit easier, and you can't beat the commute. The commute is really just across the up the stairs and to the right, you know. But we did get a voice message earlier from Overton's Orange, and he wanted to talk a little bit about the Zion Williamson deal. So we'll play that for you here on the show before we get to the top of the hour, and they're joined by our good buddy Mike Yuva. So here's what Double O, Overton's Orange, had to say about our conversation a little bit earlier in the program.
This is Overton's Orange. There's no doubt in my mind that, he got a little, he was paid. He was coming to Clemson, committed to Clemson. Zion got a little offer from, I don't know where it went, to his parents. It doesn't matter. It happened. That's what my beliefs are. Anyway, I want to, I've been on this for a while, Lawton. I got to get Brad Brunell on that transfer portal, buddy. I mean, what does it take, brother? We got to get him on down the road. Hey, we'll holla later.
The transfer porthole for Brad Brownell, according to Overton's Orange. Again, this kind of, the situation that happens, and I said this out of the gates here on the program today. We talked about it extensively yesterday. You can get the podcast edition. The thing for me is, when you acknowledge what Brad Brownell's dealing with, it becomes increasingly more difficult, in my opinion, to have that feeling that you don't want this guy around. If a guy in your program, a coach of your program, is a slimy, kind of sleazy guy that you wouldn't want to hang out with, if he was doing things the wrong way and winning, even still, you might not want to part ways with him, but you have to. See Rick Pitino, right? At Louisville. But if you got a guy that appears to be doing things the right way in Coach Brad Brownell, and then you have all these other things maybe underhanded or dirty. Now, there was a time in my life, I'm not going to lie to you. When I was 22 years old, when I was 21, and I was North Floor for life, let me tell you what I would have said to you about Clemson basketball. I would have said, I don't care if you have to cheat. That's what a young Swanee would say. The repercussions didn't bother me. Didn't matter. I wanted to win. And if I got caught, well, at least I increased my status to the point of where maybe kids will still want to come play because they'll remember how great we were before we were on probation. Logically, at 22, that made a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense. But you know what? I think continuity, as I said earlier, is the big deal for me. And those are things you want to, keep in mind as you kind of roll on with Brad Brownell and what he brings to the table for Clemson. Coming up in hour number 2, Mike Uva from Watch Fox 57 joins us at Mike_UVA. He did an interview recently that you are going to be so shocked to hear. He interviewed Savell Newton. This was after former South Carolina wide receiver Kenny McKinley, of course, tragically took his own life. Savell Newton was in a similar situation in his mind, and McKinley's circumstances changed that. We'll peek over the fence a little bit, but it's a human story here on the program next with Mike Uva. Stay with us.
Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports. Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
A wreck I-77 northbound this afternoon, just past the Blythewood Road exit. We also have an accident on Brickyard at Majestic. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line number is 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by SOS Children's Villages. War, poverty, and disaster have left millions of children around the world orphaned, abandoned, alone. When their parents can't be there, SOS Children's Villages is there in 134 countries, including the U.S., to make a difference in a child's life. Go to sosusa.org.
iHeart Radio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. We're staying home right now and ordering food from local restaurants. But remember, food and packaging account for almost 45% of the materials landfilled in the U.S. So help reduce the amount of waste by requesting no disposable cutlery, eating all the food you order, and recycling containers when possible. Brought to you by iHeart Radio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
We can all help stop the spread of germs and prevent the spread of respiratory viruses like COVID-19 and the flu. Wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. Avoid touching your face with unwashed hands. Avoid skin-to-skin contact with other people. Stay home and away from others while you're sick. Cover your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing. And finally, clean frequently touched objects and surfaces. For more information, visit scdheck.gov/COVID-19.
Yeah, Mr. Miller, those plumbing pipes leading to your house are going to need to be repaired.
Hold on now. No, sir. You see the sign Yard of the Month there? Now, you You gonna tell me you want to dig up my yard? Well, I'm gonna tell you.
Oh, no. We don't have to dig up your yard. Metz Plumbing has the only residential trenchless pipe replacement system in the area. So, no messes, no ugly trenches in the yard. Our pipe bursting equipment allows us to go underground and run the new plumbing line without messing up your yard.
So I get to keep my yard on one side.
Yes, sir. The Metz Plumbing no mess pipe replacement system. Metz Plumbing, 732-DRIP.
Hey, this is Ray.
And Marianne with Absolute Glass.
We would like to thank Lexington for voting us Best Glass Shop in Lexington for 10 years in a row.
Absolute Glass specializes in high-end auto glass replacement and repair.
We also do home windows,
patio doors,
tabletops,
shower doors,
mirrors,
storefronts,
and decorative glass.
Find us online at absoluteglassinc.com.
And remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
Major key alert. Don't ever play yourself. Life is like school. You will be tested, so pass it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com.
Stay focused. Now that's a major key alert.
Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just got invited to the prom. Do you A, meet her date?
I need to see your past date report cards, your driver's license, a list of references, and this hair sample.
B, help her pick out a dress.
Don't you just love the long sleeves and turtleneck on this pantsuit?
Ugh.
C, attend the prom undercover.
Mom, what are you doing here?
I'm not Mom. I'm Calvin, the new kid at school.
Or D, capture her big moment.
Let's take a photo of you two. I'm in the middle.
When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers. But that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Fox Sports Radio 1400, WCOS Columbia, an iHeart radio station.
It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Ready, set! Just call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
It is hour number 2. That's drive time right here on the show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk. And I didn't mess it up today like I did yesterday. Mike Uva, Watch Fox 57, getting set to join the program here. And do I have some incredible questions for him? I do indeed, because of a text message he sent me a little bit earlier today. So we'll get hooked up with Mike Uva here, and we'll get after it in hour number 2. You can be a part of the program. Text the show 803-450-0086. Excuse me, 803. Yeah, that's right. 803-450-0086. It's amazing when you're reading numbers and saying numbers how you can feel like you may have said what you were reading. But I didn't. I nailed it. Nonetheless, we'll get out to the guest line. Mike Uva going to be coming on the program with us this afternoon to get his thoughts on everything going on in the world of sports and more. And Mike, man, welcome in. Hope you're doing good, buddy.
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm great. Listen, I got to know. This is a real picture of you at the Jerry Springer show. This is absolutely incredible.
You want to talk about just like living the best of college. That was senior week at Assumption, little old Assumption in Worcester, Massachusetts. And listen to this. So you paid $5, and there's maybe 2 or 3 busfuls, loads of just seniors in my 2014 class. We go down. It's about an hour ride to Sanford, Connecticut, also the headquarters of WWE.
Sure.
Did not get to see Vince McMahon, though. So we go on down there. You pay $5. That pays for transportation. That pays for a ticket to the Jerry Springer show. And on the way back, you and the person sitting next to you on the bus ride back, they gave you a large pizza. I mean, you want to talk about just senior week of college, that was the highlight. And that was the beginning of the week, so it was all downhill from there. But Jerry Springer 6 years ago today, popped up my Facebook memories today.
Why is it, not that you look so excited to be there, because we all know the Jerry Springer show is a show that gets you fired up and ready to go, but maybe it's because you work at Watch Fox. You look like this was self-imposed. I mean, or what, it looks like this was Photoshopped. Like, for some reason, you just stand out from the crowd.
Well, I was, that was, right up there with Joey Chestnut and watching the hot dog eating contest, being able to go to the Jerry Springer show. I mean, that's just something that you dream of.
So what
to be
was,
able to,
if it's safe for radio, what was the topic that day on the Jerry Springer show, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, Jesus. I mean, they all kind of blend together, right? I mean, they all probably sound the same. I mean, if I can remember, it probably had something to do with someone cheating on someone's sister or brother. I mean, that's just how they all go. But I mean, probably something along the lines of that.
Man, unbelievable. Maybe even more so unbelievable, the story that you did on Savell Newton, former South Carolina quarterback, and his struggles with mental health. Man, you texted me today this story, and I thought to myself, holy cow. It's amazing. We just don't know what's going on in the minds of these players. And really, in fairness, because I've got a good buddy that deals with a lot of these similar issues, we just don't know what's going on in the minds of a lot of people. But what a story you told, and how Kenny McKinley's untimely death played a huge part in Savell Newton's, I hesitate to say recovery, but in Savell Newton's, I don't really know what the word is, understanding of the things he was dealing with. That might be the best way to put it.
And I mean, for people that don't understand in terms of like how you and I talked before your show, I mean, 9 times out of 10, I just hop on the airwaves and whatever you bring up, we kind of just go with. But with it being Mental Health Awareness Month, and this story just being so big, and it was something that kind of just happened. It kind of just happened with Savell Newton reaching out to me, because I knew he was battling with depression. But when he just reached out to me a day after he did a Facebook Live with Ryan Holinsky, he said, "I'm ready to talk." And I had no idea what I was going to hear next. And when he told me about his battle with depression, I think it's one that, look, college football, especially down in this state, we understand how important it is, whether it's Clemson, whether it's South Carolina, whether it's even South Carolina State, but especially with Clemson and USC. These athletes, when they come in, and Marcus Lattimore told me this 3 years ago when I did an interview with him, or 2 years ago, excuse me, he said when those players arrive, whether it's Clemson or USC, 99% of them truly believe that they're going to go play in the NFL one day. They truly believe. And for a lot of them, they believe that this is their way to be able to not only get out, but to be able to help their families. So for Savell to be able to play at USC one day, he felt like this was going to be his ability to be able to help his family. And just the stuff that he was telling me, man. I mean, when he was younger and people were telling him, "Hey, we need you to go play football at the professional level one day," he was telling me stories about how he would have like a 2-liter Coke bottle and they would fill it with rocks. And that's how they would play football as kids. Think about that. They didn't even have enough money to buy a football, that they would get a Coke bottle and fill it up with rocks, and that's what they would use to play football. So for Savell to be able to get to that point, it was obviously tremendous for his family, but the pressure that he felt, and the injuries, and obviously a coaching change happened and he wasn't able to make it to the NFL, he felt pressure and he felt like he let his family down. And he talked about how you go from hearing 80,000 people cheer your name at Williams-Brice Stadium to the next day, it feels like people aren't even recognizing you. And that just, it hurt him. And he was ready to take his own life. And he talked about how on September 11, 2010, he was at the Georgia game at Williams-Brice when they played South Carolina with Kenny McKinley, and how everything seemed normal with him, and Kenny didn't sense anything wrong with Savell. And then just 9 days later, Kenny McKinley took his own life. And I think a lot of Gamecock fans and even Clemson fans recall that incident because, Kenny goes down as one of the greatest Gamecock receivers we've ever seen. And he had such a promising career after signing with the Denver Broncos. But what people don't know, and this is the part that just blew my mind, because you talk to the people that have covered the Gamecocks for decades, they didn't even know this part, and this is what just blew me away. Savell was ready to take his life that same week. And what changed is because he was so close to Kenny. When that happened, he's like, Kenny did it before me. He beat me to the punch. And I think it's hard for any human, doesn't matter what fan base you cheer for, not to just look at that and just be like, wow. So people don't realize if Kenny doesn't take his life, a life that obviously was taken way too short and taken from us way too early, who knows where Savell Newton is today?
Unbelievable. You know, I've got a friend I mentioned. He has a podcast called Relatively Normal, and he had me on there the other week. And I think one of the toughest things about mental health and mental health issues is that if you don't struggle with depression, it becomes very easy to think that it's not real. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, you know, suck it up, buttercup. You kind of get that mentality. But for people that are dealing with it, it is real. And it's a reality that if you have never dealt with it, it's very hard, I think, to justify in your brain. It's a hard concept to understand. And tragically, you know, so many people do end up taking their own life. And I'm glad that you put this story together. And again, you can read it over on WACH.com. That's watch.com, of course, and Mike Uver from Watch Fox 57 in the Midlands doing this special tribute on Mental Health Awareness Month. And from that standpoint, I know the story tells it, but I'll let you dive into it. Give us some insight into what Savell Newton is now doing in order to combat some of these issues for people.
So I can tell you is, you know, from just getting down here in 2016 and working with Watchbox, Savell was a constant guest on our show on Watchbox and being able to come in and provide insight for the Gamecocks. But of course, you know, he's been juggling so many different things. So we really haven't been able to have him in lately, but we'd love to have him come back soon. But, you know, he's been getting counseling. You know, after that incident, he was able to still continue to play arena football. He played with the Philadelphia Soul for a little bit, and then he was a teacher over at Blythewood. But now more than ever, he's been able to kind of just be able to get the counseling that he needs on top of just being able to find a way to make himself happy. And he was able to create an organization called Be You For You. And it's as simple as what it sounds like, you know, be yourself for yourself. And he said those words were presented to him during one of his counseling sessions. And that's where he was able to get the name from that. So he's doing that. He wants to be able to help other people. And, you know, he continues, and obviously during all these crazy times during the coronavirus, but prior to this, he was going to middle schools, high schools, even colleges. I mean, even an NAIA program like Allen University, he would speak to these student athletes. He would speak to young kids and just talking about just the importance of just, you know, being happy and being able to find that happiness with yourself and just appreciating who you are and just making the most out of everything. So, I'm really proud of Savell taking this head on, and you know he's creating a gym. I don't know when it's going to open yet because things have kind of got pushed back a little bit with the coronavirus, but he wants to be able to help other athletes as well. Coaching is something that he would love to be able to do one day again, but I think more than anything he's in a happy place. So look, you know, and him and I had these conversations because he is so vocal on Twitter. And he got misunderstood, I feel like, because some people just don't understand the struggles he's going through. And I'm not trying to justify necessarily everything he said, but my point being is sometimes people just don't understand, like you alluded to. Some people don't understand where some of these things are coming from. And I hope that after people heard the story, that they understand where some of these thoughts are coming from Savell Newton.
Now, one of the things that has always, or at least recently, been tied to issues like this with football players comes down to CTE and the brain trauma that these guys deal with from the hard collisions, etc. Has he done anything on that front, Mike, in terms of, you know, having his brain scanned for those types of things that they do see occasionally in people who have passed away tragically from you know, taking their own life, etc.?
From everything I know, he hasn't. I'll continue to follow up on that because that's obviously something, like you said, that's something that, especially now more than ever, people are talking about. But I think what some people don't understand is it's easy to just overlook is that some people just feel this internal and external pressure, and I felt like he was feeling it both ways. And this doesn't even have to be with head trauma. I mean, I think back to when I was in college, and I'm not going to necessarily bring the people's names up because this is something I've never talked about publicly, but I remember on 2 separate occasions, I had two of my teammates ready to kill themselves, and they came to me. And I mean, when you're, not even 20 years old, these are separate occasions, and you have teammates coming up to you saying, I want to take my life. Like that's a hard thing to hear when you're not even 20 years old. So I think that's why this hits me very, very close to heart when I hear stories like this. But I think that it's just people come back from different backgrounds, and I think especially when you talk about the high level of football with the SEC and the ACC, there's just so much added pressure. And just like you, just like me, we all love football. We all love the competitiveness, and it's very hard to separate the two, which is being the athlete and being just a person. But I think that's one of the tough things sometimes that is hard to separate. And I think for a guy like Savell, he just wasn't ready to be able to jump into a situation like he was at USC, and then once it was just taken from him, just to be able to be a person. And he alluded to that in that story, which was, I forgot who Savell Newton was as a person instead of just being just someone that was always an athlete. What happens when that athlete part's not associated with me? Who am I?
Yeah. Incredible. Mike Uva's on Twitter at Mike_UVA. All right, Mike, let's shift gears a little bit away from that storyline. And again, you can read Mike's work, WACH.com. Incredible interview with Savell Newton, who, as a Gamecock, I've gotten to know through my time helping you guys out over there as well. Super nice guy.
Yeah.
So the situation right now with Zion Williamson and Duke, and and again, first and foremost, for everybody out there, I want to explain the fact that his former agent is trying to get him to admit these things does not mean that these things happen. But at some point, with the power brokers in college basketball, are we ever going to see these guys held accountable at all for anything that's gone on around their program? Or do you think for the rest of Coach K's days at Duke, et cetera, that it's just going to be, hey, these guys didn't know, they had no idea that this was happening, et cetera, et cetera?
I mean, I've always enjoyed being able to make the jokes like, okay, Coach K is untouchable, like nothing's going to happen to a guy like that. But in terms of just being like, just my serious answer with it, I think at some point you're going to have to see something done. And whether or not these things happen or not, you're going to have to look at these allegations. Now, I feel like the way this is kind of being portrayed, it's kind of like a crazy ex-girlfriend who just, is upset that they're not with you. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to bring you down and bring you in the girl that you're with down currently, right? With. So that's what it kind of feels like. But, look, we know the success, and I think that's the other part of it, because we can equate it to like the Patriots, and I think of Deflategate. If Deflategate had happened with the Jacksonville Jaguars, would that have blown up into as big of a scandal as it did? Absolutely not. But when you have success, and we know the history that Coach K has, we know the history that Duke basketball has had, it's hard to overlook it. I mean, we're not talking, no disrespect to South Carolina, but it's not like we're talking about South Carolina basketball right now. We're not talking about programs who haven't been able to have the level of success that Duke has been able to have over the last couple of decades. So I feel like at some point you're going to have to look into it. And I'm not saying it in terms of okay, you're going to lose the fans' interest because, they feel like you're protecting certain people. You have to just do it because it's hard not to, especially with a program like that has been so successful, because it has to bring up a red flag eventually. And I think right now, whether these allegations are true or not, I feel like it has to grab your attention if you're the NCAA.
Mike Uva is on Twitter at Mike_UVA. Watch Fox 57 in the Midlands. He gets it done, and then here every Tuesday to chat with you, not just about the Clemson Tigers, but also peeking into the backyard of Gamecock Nation. I know last week, South Carolina Athletic Director Ray Tanner was on with our good buddy here at Fox Sports Radio 1400, Teddy Hefner, and said he thought they might have about 15,000 fans in attendance at South Carolina football games this year. Is that what you guys are picking up over there at Watch Fox as well? Is that sort of the news that you're hearing?
Yeah, if that. If that, I mean, and the reason I say if that is because, you know, we heard Mark Emmert say just the other day, if student athletes are not on campus, how are you going to be able to have games? Because he doesn't care if you're doing online classes. And the reason he says that is, okay, online classes. The message we send now is we care about protecting the safety of our students, but we don't care about protecting the safety of our student athletes, because the student athletes are going to have to be on campus if they're going to play, right? So I think the big thing that's going to be interesting to see over these next couple months is if there's no football season, and I'm not trying to be negative, if there's no football season, how this can impact other sports. Because Ray Tanner brought that up. He didn't say, hey, look, we're going to get rid of other sports, but he said you have to talk about it. Just yesterday, Florida Tech, part of the Gulf South Conference, Division II program, they just got rid of their football team. This isn't going to be something that you're only going to see with them. Unfortunately, you're going to see this throughout the rest of the country, especially with Division III and Division II schools, but it's going to start happening with Division I schools too, especially the schools that just aren't able to afford the luxury of being able to pay for other sports if football does not happen. So I hope that's not the case. But, I mean, right now, it's a bigger question in terms of if there will be a season, if we can have a season by having student athletes back on campus to have classes take place, compared to just, hey, how many fans are going to have in the crowd. So that number, it sounds about right, but I think the bigger question that needs to be asked, are we going to have a football season? And it all starts with being able to have classes on campus.
Mike, buddy, have a great week, man. I appreciate your time and look forward to next Tuesday, my man.
Appreciate it, buddy. Take care.
On Twitter, at Mike_UVA. Mike Uval, watch Fox 57 in the Midlands. Always good to catch up with him. 803-450-0086 is your number. 803-450-0086. The show that shakes the Southland rolls along here, not only in the Midlands on Fox Sports Radio 1400, but also in Florence on Sports Radio 100.1 The Fan, and in Manning on 920 AM. It's good to have each and every one of you here with us. We hit a quick break. We come back with more on Twitter at Clemson Sports and your website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com.
Fox Sports Radio 1400 wants to help with a chance at $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword CARE to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info, standard data and message rate supply in this nationwide contest. That's CARE to 200-200. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Traffic tie-ups this afternoon include 2 Notch at Spring Valley, also I-77 northbound just past the Blythewood Road exit, a couple of other wrecks, Cedar Grove at Louis Road, and I-20 westbound near the Minetta exit. I'm Rob Sanders. Reach out to me on the 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
Group training is a fun, accountable way to get into shape. I'm Coach Stewart of Dynamic Health and Fitness. Come train with one of our special groups today. We will focus on giving you the support you need to get in shape. We use the Dynamic Mob, featuring intervals of cardio, functional training, and strength training to change your lifestyle to make you healthy. Get started today at any of our locations in Lexington or West Columbia, or call 803-408-4060 or online at dynamichealthclub.com.
Hey, it's Jonathan Rush for Montgomery Construction. One of the reasons why their clients love Montgomery Construction, well, of course, it's for their expertise in construction. But once you meet Matt Montgomery and Aaron, you'll understand because they are so personable. It's an enjoyable experience, and that communication helps them take their client's vision and build it into a reality. And that's just one of the ways Montgomery Construction is building a better experience. Talk to Matt Montgomery at Montgomery Construction, 490-2243.
If there's one thing that the class of 2020 has learned, it's to expect the unexpected. So, to help them on their journey, iHeart Radio is launching Commencement, a new podcast featuring speeches from the biggest names. Commencement is in partnership with the 2020 Census, which gives you the opportunity to help shape the future of our country for the next 10 years. Complete the census at 2020census.gov. Then, listen to iHeart Radio's new podcast, Commencement. Speeches drop May 15th on the iHeart Radio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kaufman Quinton. My daddy, Billy Kaufman, opened Kaufman's Meat Plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a tasty T-bone, ribeye, or New York strip steak? But to order at Kaufman's Meat and Place. Just look for the signs near the intersection of US 1 and I-20 in Lexington. Call us at 356-0076 to place your order. Kaufman's Meat and Place, when you want the very best your money can buy.
Come on, smile. Oh, honey, he's still not smiling.
Maybe he's not a smiler.
Yeah, maybe he's just not a happy baby.
Maybe he's just being a boy.
Or maybe he's teething.
Maybe it's just a phase.
Maybe he has autism, and we can definitely do something to help.
Maybe is all you need to find out more about autism. No big, joyful smiles by 6 months is one early sign. Learn the others at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
This is head coach Dabo Sweeney, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who is on the front lines and to everyone who is supporting them in their fight. To our doctors, our nurses, our police force, our firefighters, our EMTs, all of our first responders, I just want to take a second to just say thank you for your service. Stay well, stay safe, and I know that you're greatly appreciated. God bless all of you.
Stay on top of today's pop culture. Ace and TJ Mornings and today's hit music all day on 104.7 WNOK.
It is the show that shakes the Southland on a Tuesday afternoon. Lawton Swan hanging out with you here. And again, appreciate Mike Yuva for being a part of the program. Watch Fox 57. Good stuff with Mike just a few minutes ago. So I know we've talked a good bit about Zion Williamson today and Clemson recruiting in football, but with the Bubba Chandler offer that went out and our conversations with Bubba going to be up on ClemsonSportsTalk.com tomorrow for Tiger fans everywhere. But here's something I wanted to get into. I saw an interesting article that Kobe Bryant's pilot, again, Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and 6 other individuals were tragically killed in a helicopter crash, what seems like 10 years ago now with everything that's gone on in America in 2020. But back in January was when that happened. And Kobe Bryant's pilot's representative have now blamed the passengers for the fatal crash. Now, you may recall that recently Vanessa Bryant had a lawsuit filed against the helicopter's pilot, Era Zobian, and the helicopter company, Island Express, saying that the fault in the crash was, of course, a part of their deal. But, any injuries or damages to plaintiffs and or their descendant were directly caused in full or in part by the negligence or fault of plaintiffs and or their descendant, including their knowledge and voluntary encounter with the risk involved, and that this negligence was a substantial factor in causing their perpetrated damages for which this answering defendant bears no responsibility. So essentially, what that is saying, and I am not a lawyer, is the fact that Island Express, according to the lawsuit, is only allowed to fly under visual flight rules, and the conditions the day of the crash were not conducive for such flying. And so they make it sound as if they may have been pressured to go out and fly. Now, back in February, Kobe Bryant's wife, Vanessa, again sued Island Express for pre-impact terror, claiming the aircraft involved in the crash that killed Kobe and her daughter and others should have never been in place in the peril that it was in, or never been placed in the peril it was in before the January 26th accident, since that the fog was extremely low and the pilot was in blinding conditions before the mishap. Now, what I will say is so sad about all of this, from top to bottom, is the fact that you're talking about people's lives here, and there is no great answer, because I think from the outset, so many of us probably wondered and speculated what happened that day, and it would be easy to believe that Kobe Bryant, given his stature, given his expectations, given how much money he has, would very easily be able to pressure and influence somebody to fly a helicopter in conditions in which maybe weren't conducive to flying. And again, this is not to point the finger at Kobe, but simply to maintain and recognize the fact that when you are dealing with celebrities and when you are dealing with incredibly rich individuals, look, I don't know what was said prior to the flight. I have no clue. But if you think that it wouldn't be very easy for the pilot to say, you know what, Kobe, I don't think this is safe. I don't think we need to fly today. And Kobe simply saying, again, this is me speculating, but just to put it into perspective, when these guys get fined $25,000, dude, that is a drop in the hat. Doesn't mean diddly and or poo to these guys. So if you think it's not possible that Kobe said, look, man, if you take us, I'll give you $5,000 when we get there, or I'll give you $5,000 in advance, or whatever. Those are easy things to believe could have happened. And it's not to say that that's what's being speculated here, but again, essentially, any injuries or damages to plaintiffs and or their descendant were directly caused in full or part by the negligence or fault of the plaintiffs and or their descendant, including their knowledge and voluntary encounter with the risk involved. And that this negligence was a substantial factor in causing their perpetrated damages for which this answering defendant bears no responsibility. Now, that also, I guess, is similar to, I'm assuming, if there is a case where you are on a zip line and you probably signed some waiver that says that you're willing to, waive the rights to sue if you fall and get hurt or injured or whatever, yet you know that those things don't always hold up. And it seems to me that in some respects, there must have been at least some semblance of what the company is trying to push forward is the fact that maybe Kobe or everybody involved knew the risk when they got on that plane. Maybe even the pilot said, hey, look, this is not a safe flight, but they said, no, we can do this. I have no idea. It is a bad situation all the way around. Now, despite the claims that the passengers were to blame for the fatal crash, they did not address how the passengers could have caused the accident. It is unclear how they could have been at fault given the fact that the pilot was seemingly in control of the aircraft as the passengers are in their seats. And again, that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, I don't think that there was activity on the helicopter that caused this issue outside of the potential that maybe they were, forcing or Kobe was encouraging the pilot to carry on, which is, again, I don't think is a far-fetched thought. I think a lot of us had that thought initially. Why would they take off? Well, Kobe's an influential guy. I mean, Kobe Bryant looks you dead in the eye and says, buddy, we're flying to this tournament. You going to say no to Kobe Bryant? Not many people are because of the influence that he has. And so from that standpoint, while we don't know for certain, it is a terrible situation all around. One, from Vanessa Bryant's standpoint, her children, and everybody else obviously dealing with the loss of family members. And now, two, the legal battles that are taking place in the court and what will, I'm sure, continue to play out between these parties on this front. It is tragic. Yeah, the tragedy of it all has not changed. And I think for anybody who's followed this situation, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. And I feel horribly for everybody because every time it comes up, you have to relive it. We'll hit a quick break. We're back with more of the show that shakes the Southland right after this.
Protect yourself and those you love from COVID-19. People in our community are getting sick and even dying. If you're 65 or older or have conditions like diabetes, heart disease, or lung disease, you're at greater risk of getting seriously ill. Stay well by staying home as much as possible and taking your prescribed medications. If you must go out for work or essential items, avoid close contact with others and wash your hands often. Visit scdheck.gov/COVID-19.
It's the key to better living. Essex Home.
Need to move now? Relocating? While you're at home, you can shop for a new home. Design your house with a mouse at EssexHomes.net. Tour homes online. Schedule a virtual appointment. Need a private one-on-one visit? You can chat with a specialist today. Stay safe and keep others safe by calling or clicking today.
It's the key to better living. Essex Home.net.
Slow drains, dripping pipes, these could be major problems. Call On Call to get the plumbing in your home checked and put your mind at ease. On Call has trained technicians, not trained salespeople, and they can help you avoid those plumbing disasters caused by unseen or neglected problems. Call the name you can trust. Call On Call Plumbing, Heating, and Air 24/7 at 803-781-HELP. That's 781-HELP.
On Call Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Pick up the phone and we'll be right there. Call 781-HELP.
Tonight, the skies stay clear and the lows dip down to around 50. Tomorrow, plenty of sunshine and warmer, highs upper 70s. For Channel 25 ABC Columbia, I'm Chief Meteorologist John Farley.
This report is sponsored by Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
The class of 2020 had a piece of their journey taken, so iHeartRadio, along with some of the most influential voices in the world, are giving it back the best way we can. Commencement, the podcast, will host an unprecedented amount of inspirational speeches that we can all use right now. General Stanley McChrystal.
Accept that this crisis sucks. It does. But finding a sense of purpose is how we all emerge stronger.
And many, many more. Commencement, the podcast, available this Friday on the free iHeartRadio app.
Every year, Steve Faircal climbs the stairs at the John Hancock Center in Chicago, 94 floors to the top.
It's called the hustle up the Hancock.
It's hard to believe when you watch Steve today that a few years ago, his lungs were failing and he was fighting to survive.
For 8 hours a day, someone was pounding on my chest to try and keep my lungs clear. I honestly don't think I had more than a couple weeks to live.
That's when Steve received the gift of life, a double lung transplant made possible by an organ donor.
After I got my new lungs, I started doing things that I had never been able to do. I never knew that breathing could feel this good.
Steve climbs to honor his donor and to raise awareness for organ, eye, and tissue donation.
Wouldn't you like that when you left this beautiful planet, that you could save a few lives on your way out? It's an incredible gift.
Imagine what you could make possible by leaving behind the gift of life. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
The American Red Cross urgently needs blood and platelet donations and asks donors to schedule an appointment to give now. Every 2 seconds, someone in the United States needs blood. Your blood donation is critical and can help save lives. Please, schedule an appointment today. Download the Blood Donor app. Visit redcrossblood.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS today. You can make a difference.
Broadcasting from the TrueCar.com studios, this is Columbia's Fox Sports Radio, 1400.
You are locked into Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan having a good time on a Tuesday. The website, clemsonsportstalk.com. Text us, 803-450-0086. Never while you're driving. You know the rules here. Never while you're driving. You can also call that number now, as I mentioned earlier, 803-450-0086. Leave us a message. We'll get you worked in here on the program. And, of course, so much going on in the world of college sports, the uncertainty in college sports, who's going to be at or near the top of the college football scene. It's one of those things that we've talked about quite a bit here, and what will things look like from that standpoint. You want to weigh in on that? You can. Again, on Twitter, at Clemson Sports. I saw some interesting news, though, from ESPN that came out yesterday after the program. You know, we've talked about the versatility of Isaiah Simmons. He was asked heading into the NFL draft, you know, what position does he play? He said defense. They asked him why he should be taken as the top overall defensive selection. He said, well, because you got a 53-man roster, but with a guy like me, You got 56, and people really took to that and said, man, you know what, this guy's versatile. He can play on the defensive line if necessary as a stand-up defensive end. He can play at the linebacker spot. He can do things well at safety on the in the secondary of the defense. Just kind of a one-size-fits-all approach. But according to reports, the Cardinals plan for Isaiah Simmons to focus on just one role. That, according to head coach Cliff Kingsbury, wants to see how he will fare at one position. He doubled down on limiting Simmons, according to the article that I saw on ESPN, saying our thought process is that if he's really able to focus on one position, having the flexibility to still move around, but really focus on one, what does that look like? And the sky can be the limit. So, again, this is not necessarily taking everything out of what Isaiah Simmons is still going to be able to give the Cardinals, but it does feel a little bit like the specialization in sports that we talk about here quite frequently with where kids might only play soccer. They might only play basketball. They might only play baseball. They might never play football. The well-rounded athlete is something that is so inherently valuable, and that's what we felt like one of Simmons's greatest assets is. I wouldn't say it's a singular, greatest asset, because obviously his speed, his smarts, his recognition, all of those things are very valuable for Isaiah Simmons. But it is disappointing, I think, if you're a Clemson Tiger fan, to hear that, because you know what he's given you. And I think it would also be naive to say that he wasn't more or less a linebacker at Clemson his entire career. And yeah, he moved around. It was the nickel hybrid spot. But what they really want to do is see if they can't push him forward so far at this one skill set. If they can push him forward and make him the best at his position in the NFL, but still have versatility to do other things. So it's not as if they're saying, hey, we're never going to consider moving him around. But again, they want him to focus on that one position. They want him to really hone his craft. Cliff Kingsbury went on to say, that's why we were so excited about him. The athleticism is through the roof, but his ability to play different positions and not really have any chance to focus on one, we just think the sky can be the limit for what he could be if we really lock him into one position the majority of the time. Now, last season, of course, Isaiah Simmons was the Atlantic Coast Conference Defensive Player of the Year. He was the Butkus Award winner. He was all over the field. He played 303 snaps at cornerback, 218 snaps at safety, 160 at outside linebacker, and 121 at inside linebacker during the season with Clemson. And, there's so much that goes into the development and talent of these guys. And if you get a well-rounded player, the Swiss Army knife type player, a player that you can put, in to multiple spots, it's huge, because injuries are real. Injuries do occur. And so that's where a guy like Simmons becomes increasingly more valuable. But from the standpoint of, should you hear it as if Isaiah Simmons is only going to be one position with the Cardinals? No, that's just not the case. It's the goal of, if you've got a child that's good with music, they're gifted on the piano, they're gifted on the drums, and they're gifted on the guitar. But you believe that they have more talent and a chance to go further by focusing their skills on the piano, you might do that. It doesn't mean they give up the guitar. It doesn't mean they give up the drums. It means you push them forward in the skill set that you believe, or that, maybe if you're not musically inclined, somebody who is believes can take them a step further, can make them a more valuable commodity, or more important piece of the orchestra, to say the least. And yet, if you need a backup drummer, hey, maybe you can go over there and do that. But I think the bigger thing becomes, at what point, if you do individualize, I guess if that's the right word, if you do have him focus on one area more so than the other, does he reach a point where he is so valuable at that spot that his maneuverability in your defense isn't as valuable, because taking him off the field at linebacker or at safety or wherever you really grow him up, taking him out of that spot is more detrimental than having him be flexible. That would be one concern I would have. Like, if you go back to the orchestra comparison, if you take your kid out of the piano role and put him in the drums, you better have a pretty good pianist behind him, because if you don't, it's going to be noticeable that he's gone from that spot. So from that standpoint, that's where I think if your mindset is, hey, we're going to really try to mature him in one spot, you might be shooting yourself in the foot a little bit over the long haul. But I can also see where if he becomes a real specialized, weaponized talent, then maybe he just becomes so important that you can't move him at all, because he's just that good. He goes from being a Swiss Army knife to a very sharp knife. So from that standpoint, I guess when you think about Simmons, I mean, his value, when you look at it, could go a multitude of ways depending on how they decide to use him. But I'd keep him open for more options than they would. Stay with us.
Kirk Commercial Construction is a licensed general contractor in South Carolina. Since 2011, Chris Kirk, a Columbia native with 20 years of construction experience, has believed in meeting his customers' needs. Kirk Commercial Construction is capable of performing any retail or office expansion, new construction, metal building, or commercial renovation work. In addition to Kirk's commercial construction projects, their service division can assist you with commercial and maintenance tasks. If you need it done right, call 803-250-2495 or kirkcommercialconstruction.com.
Hey Tiger fans, Don Munson here, voice of the Clemson Tigers, and I want you to know there is no better way to support your Tigers than by being a member of IPTAY. Membership starts at only $60 and provides critical support for our student athletes to be champions in the classroom and in athletic competition. Be a game changer and visit ClemsonTigers.com/IPTAY or call 1-800-CLEMSON to join IPTAY today.
For 28 years, the professional staff of the Hobbs Group and Hobbs Group Advisors has been dedicated to helping others achieve their financial goals by delivering quality, objective financial and accounting solutions to a diverse client base of individuals and businesses all over South Carolina. We offer tax and audit services, bookkeeping, payroll, litigation support, employee benefits, personal financial planning, investment management, and insurance services. Please call us at 803-799-0555 or visit our website, hobbscpa.com, to learn more about our people and services.
Veritas Urgent Care in Lexington does things a bit different than the competitor. We keep wait times low, are veteran focused, and handle both insured and uninsured patients at low costs. Most importantly, every patient gets the time necessary from Dr. Hatami to treat their needs. And we're now COVID-19 testing through a secure and separate part of the building. Call Veritas Urgent Care today to make your appointment. 803-399-8793. We put the urgent in urgent care.
If you're a customer of Clark's Lawn and Landscaping or Pest Control, just know because of COVID-19, they're taking every precaution possible to protect you and them. Now is the perfect time, since we're spending so much time at home, to make sure your lawn is green and healthy without any weeds. Don't let weeds be a pain in your grass. Oh, and they know exactly what kind of fertilizers and pre-emergents to use, so you can use your lawn for fun this spring and summer. Call Clark's at 781-4991. Online, clarksturfpro.com.
Roxanne Watson is on a mission.
Hello, how are you doing today?
She wants more people to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors.
Are you an organ donor? Yes, I am. Yay.
My goal is to sign up the most people in the United States.
What drives her? Roxanne's own life was saved through the gift of a heart transplant, made possible by an organ donor.
I decided that day that I was going to devote myself to the cause of organ donation and signing people up and honoring my donor by doing that.
Now she's back to health, and she's a powerful force helping to save lives every day through her work. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life.
8 people can be helped with the major organs, and up to 50 people can be helped with a little bit of everything. And when you think about it that way, that you could help that many people, it's amazing. It really is.
Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique, but you are not alone. MAD is here to help. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org. That's MADD.org.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeart Radio app and on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. An iHeart Radio station.
What have you done for me lately? It's a fair question. Just don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Don't forget history. Lucky for us at Clemson, the answer to the questions, what have you done for me lately, and what have you done always, are the same. We win.
Final segment on a Tuesday afternoon. Lawton Swan hanging out with you here, the show that shakes the Southland. Again, your website, say it with me, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Of course, ClemsonRadio.com will get you there as well. Come hang out, come sign up, come support, come help us grow as we roll along. Sorry about that. I forgot to dump the music bed. There we go. All right, now we're better. ClemsonSportsTalk.com, ClemsonRadio.com. Nonetheless, doing a dive into a couple of things here that have just actually broke in the past 10 minutes or so during the show, and it's not great. Not great on the football front. I know East, West Coast, etc., and I said earlier in weeks past that I thought that the circumstances in some states, and I have pointed to California more so because of the cities and things of that nature, and the college campuses in major metropolitan areas. I would argue, Georgia Tech in Atlanta is probably one of those circumstances, which is not outstanding. But according to reports that are out there, not the entire state of California, but the California State University system, I guess is like Cal State, Berkeley. I'm assuming that would be one of those schools. Schools of that nature will not have students on campus this fall. Now, could that be adjusted to the point of where you have only the athletes on campus? I don't know. I wasn't able, honestly, to read enough through this during the commercial break. But California State University, the nation's largest four-year public university system, said that classes at its 23 campuses would be canceled for the fall semester, with instruction taking place almost exclusively online. This affects countless athletic conferences, according to the document. Now, what does that mean for those schools over the long haul? I don't know. Los Angeles County's stay-at-home orders were extended for the next 3 months, according to KTLA today. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens again here in the state of South Carolina and states that are beginning to open up as well, as I said earlier in the show. But that news alone affecting so many schools, and again, these might not be what you would call your major players in college football, but some of these programs would certainly be on schedules of major players. Brett McMurphy from Stadium reporting that 3 Mountain West schools, Fresno State, San Diego State, and San Jose State, will not offer on-campus classes in the fall as, I guess, a part of this. Mid-American Conference will eliminate conference tournaments in 8 sports, including baseball, softball, men's and women's soccer, men's and women's tennis, women's lacrosse, and field hockey as cost-cutting measures due to COVID-19. There will be no changes for football, according to sources. So that's next year. They're eliminating that to save money. I'm telling you, I know we've been in this thing for 50 some odd days now. I've never seen a storyline in our country's history, maybe in the world's history, that has been so fluid, that has changed so rapidly. And I don't know what the long-term effects of opening up now are. As I said out of the gates on the show, or maybe just a little bit into the show, I think these are a critical couple of weeks here in the state of South Carolina. And I think that the determination of your college football season, maybe not even what it looks like, but if it exists, I think it comes down to what the numbers look like. What's the day? The 12th? Talk to me on June 1st. 18 days from now. June 1st, we'll mark it. We'll put it down the day we start playing beach music here on the show. If we are in a situation where death tolls, the numbers of infected aren't rising over these 18 days, I'll feel a lot better about college football. I don't know if I'll feel great about what the numbers of people will look like in the stands, but I'll feel better that you might get football. But on June 1st, if we're shut back down again, I can't see it. And I know that's not the news you want to hear today, but I'm not here to give you, sunshine and rainbows. I'm here to tell you what I think the facts are. And I think if on June 1st, things seem like they're heading the right direction, I think you got a good chance of having sports. You might not have a good chance of going to those sports, but you might have a good chance of having sports. Outside of that, folks, here in this shutdown from the state of California, if those athletes, and I got to look into it more, I'll know more about it tomorrow. If those athletes aren't allowed on campus, it's going to be a tricky, tricky situation. Believe me. Again, thank you so much to Mike Yuva. What a story he shared today about Savell Newton. We're out of here until tomorrow, and I hope that you stay safe, and most importantly, that you come back and hang out with us for 2 more hours then. As always, y'all take care now. And go Tigers! Tigers.
Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports. Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
As we look at the roads as you head home this evening, you might want to avoid Cedar Grove at Louis Road. Also a tie-up I-77 northbound near the Blythewood Road exit.